Say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So, dear Dharma practitioners, all this human history from Homo sapiens to today, million years, people try to understand the very nature of the world. And at the same time, people like to know everything. Even when it comes to the word everything, and sometimes we equalize that word to universe. But as you know, the universe came out of combined different parts. And then there is no limit with the universe. So then if you equalize the everything to the universe, then everybody knows nowadays the universe means it's nothing. There is nothing called something universe that permanently exists. It's the gas, the flow of energy. And scientifically, you can bring some kind of names. So then, there is nothing that you can gain as a solid, permanent, formally exist universe. So then, that everything equal to nothing. So then what you experience as everything, what you mean by everything is very limited to your own experience. For a child, everything is different. For a teenager, what is everything is different. For an elder, everything means it's different. And even person to person ourselves, that what we know as everything, and maybe the scientists know as everything, and maybe the doctors know as everything, politicians know as everything is different. Why that difference come? Because according to our personal experience. So then according to the Buddha's teaching, everything equal to your mind, not the universe. So then the mind means what? The mind means how the mind comes. So the mind means the result of your perception. What you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, what you feel, what you think, and or what you hold or what you memorize, what you repeat in your mind is your mind. So that is your everything. And then why there is no limit for the everything? When it comes to everything, that there is no limit. Because eons by eons, what you experience through your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, there is no limit. And through the samsara to the future, eons by eons, what you experience, there is no limit. Then what you name as everything for today, going to change by tomorrow. And what you are everything for tomorrow, going to change by next year. What you know as everything in this world, going to be changed according to your next life. So then, rather than projecting and looking and searching and waiting for the outside perception, if you start to look into your inner experience, or if you start to look into your mind, the behavior of the mind and the nature of the mind, it will start to show you a path to recognize everything. So once you know yourself, will take you to know about others and about the past and about the future. And that will take you to know everything. So nothing wrong looking at the stars, looking at the universe. It's nothing wrong. Look at the Mars and the listening to the voice of the sound of the Mars or the landscape of the Mars. Nothing wrong. It's good. Even far away through Hubble's telescope, scientists try to look into even many, many billion light years away through this universe. Nothing wrong with that. Even you can enjoy it with. That when you tune to the NASA live stream, you can enjoy it yourself. There's nothing wrong with that things. And the Buddha's teachings never go against it. But the thing is that this is the problem. This is the question that you have to ask yourself. And this is the wisdom that you have to gain. What is that? Nothing wrong, look at the sky. Nothing wrong, look at the stars. Nothing wrong, enjoy the outside world. If you can keep the balance with your foot. Just imagine. You look at the sky and enjoy the stars, but if you slip your foot, what will happen to you? What will happen to the beauty that you keep observing? It's nothing wrong, you enjoy the outside world, but if you fell down on your own bathroom, that's a problem. You know, if you slip your foot, if you go out of the balance yourself, what will happen to the beauty, the enjoyment you gain out of the world? So then always remember, teach your children, teach your friends, and even try to practice yourself. Nothing wrong with the outside world if you can keep the balance in you. If you can keep the awareness in you. If you can keep the recognition in you, you are qualified to enjoy the outside world, explore the outside universe. But if you cannot do that, before you look into the far away these stars or the outside world, get into yourself, find your own balance, find your own peace, and keep the balance with your foot first. And then start from there. Because all this fear, unsatisfaction, anxiety, depression, this all come out of our inner behavior. So when it comes to the fear, a long time ago, don't know how this started. This is a part of the world. The fear is a kind of like an inherent nature. It's same like the hunger that you have. That when it comes to the animal world, there are four things: ahara, nidra, bhaya, maitunancha. So these four qualities you will see everywhere. The hunger depending from food, and the rest, sleeping. All the animal world, you will see even him. And the fear. And the other one is reproducing. So those are very natural to all the living beings. So when it comes to fear, why it happened? The thing is this: what you afraid, and maybe someone else not. So as example, snakes. mice, rat, cockroach, mosquito, little bug. Maybe you're afraid. But how someone else adapt this kind of living beings, these wild animals like pets? Why, if you're afraid, why you cannot do that? Then you have to question yourself, from where this came to you? Maybe you're not going to find a solution, but you have to see that maybe you're afraid for the snakes, and even just saying, hearing the name, sometimes people afraid for that, have the fear. So one time that the very famous motivational speaker, Les Brown, talked the fear. False imagination appearing in real is what called fear. So our imagination itself brings us the fear. But at the same time, there is something happen. When you hold it to some spiritual practice, you can handle that fear. It's a very psychological, method that the human used to use that from ancient time to today. Just as example, you're afraid the snake. But when it become a kind of part of the spiritual figure, and then you worship it. Sometimes if the snake in a holy place, you appreciate it. And in the Eastern countries, many gods have the snakes. And the people put the tattoo. People worship. And the mice, rats, monkeys, lions, tigers, you see all the animals. And it's kind of like a part of the kind of like a different spiritual groups. And so when you go to that spiritual practice, you worship it. See that what happened to your fear. But when you are alone yourself, and then you're afraid, even just to hear the word, you're afraid. See that in day-to-day life then. So whatever that you have the fear regarding anything, remember, if you start to develop some kind of spiritual practice with that fear, what will happen? That fear going to go away. That's going to be okay. So then when there is a fear, that's mean sometimes you miss some kind of spiritual practice in that part. That's why maybe because when it is in the temple, or when it is in the mandir, when it is next to the God, you worship, but when you're alone, you're afraid. So then in day-to-day life, how you can recover from this? So why you see that animal or whatever, even the weapon, all the gods carry the weapons, and they in ancient times, gods they are the one who invented the war. And today people talk about this, machine guns, and they don't like it. But when we look at the human history, bow and arrow, and the people worship, it's a part of the God. And then you don't think, but it gave the influence to today, this mass weapons. See that when it is next to the God, And if there is a rifle or the, and missiles held by the god, and then maybe you worship it. You don't go and fight with anybody to get out it from the society. See, when it become a part of the spiritual, people accept it. But it is outside. I just gave example. But when it come to our inner, to work with your own fear, what you need to do. If anything you have afraid, if your children afraid for something, yourself afraid for something, when there is a fear, maybe by thought, the dangerous mistake is we try to handle with our own thoughts. Maybe that is not enough. That is where the fear become more stronger. So then, from today, start to bring a spiritual backup. Keep something spiritual next to that fear. Then you will see what will happen. Little by little, when that your spiritual practice going to become stronger, the fears start to disappear. So it's kind of like you afraid for the snake, there is that, as you know, then in the seven weeks that during Buddha's time, after Buddha attained to the enlightenment and practice, and the muchalin, the snake, the king of the snake came and gave the shade to the Buddha, protect the Buddha. And then you keep worshipping, and then you see suddenly the huge snake, you say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So see that what happened to your fear? Because when the Buddha is next to that, you don't afraid for the snake. Why? Because the faith regarding the Buddha is stronger than the snake. Then it disappears. So bring the same technique to your inner life. So whatever you have the fear, start to bring little bit spiritual practice and keep it next to you. Then you will say, the fear going to disappear. There's no way the fear going to be there. So for that, in the beginning, you have to start with the loving kindness. Loving kindness regarding the all living beings, seen, unseen, born, unborn, all the living beings. Without any condition, without any limitation, at least 1 minute, 2 minutes every day, start to do that. Why? Because remember, the fear is in your mind. So then in the beginning, now you develop your mind. You have to purify your mind. You have to clean your mind. And you have to bring some spiritual qualities to your thoughts. So then you become a person, you have the love to entire all living beings. That doesn't mean you have to be vegetarian. Forget about that. It is a different part. Forget about that. Just eat whatever you want to eat. Enjoy your life. But at the same time, remember, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes every day before you sleep, when you wake up in the morning, first in the morning, last in the evening. Do this when you're going to drink something, when you go out, and sometimes you remind whatever spiritual practice you do. Maybe you're going to see the doctor, or maybe you're going to see somebody, you're going to go to an interview, and maybe you pray and you get blessings. Just have thought. May all living beings be well and happy. And everybody included to that. And even somebody, in front of you to kill you. May all living beings be well and happy. That person also included to that. Then you become a bodhisattva. Why? Because the greatest enemy in front of you, but you have the love. So you develop it. And then anymore, you're not afraid for even the death. So that is our heritage. That is the Buddha's path. So through the human rights, through the banding weapons or the shooters or the killers or kind of like that way, we cannot do that. We cannot go that way. But you cultivate your heart. You expand your capacity to the highest. So the first level is start to get into, may all living beings in this universe be well and happy. So then it is just a thought. Remember that. Maybe you close your eyes and just for a moment you say, may all living beings be well and happy. And then the very next moment, your husband or the wife or, come and say something, you get mad. Your children, your parents say something, you get mad. And maybe your neighbors do something, you get mad. But it's okay. Remember, keep doing that mental practice. It is just a thought. We can say to everybody, may all living beings be well and happy in our mind. But maybe by action, by hand, we cannot do that. So then for that, it is a different action. So that is what called the compassion. You transform your loving kindness to action. It is become compassion. Compassion is not a thought, remember, but the loving kindness is a thought. When the loving kindness become the action, that become the compassion. Compassion is the main, one of the major discovery of the Buddha. This is what the Buddha gave as a gift. That's why it's called the one part is the wisdom, another part is the compassion. The Buddha is the one who introduced this word to the world. What does that mean? Because what the loving kindness in your mind, you bring it to action. So how you can do it? There's no way, no one can teach, do this way, do that, How it happened? This is how it happened. When your mind cultivate with the loving kindness, as a result of that, your bodily, verbally, mentally action start to transform. So then what happened when the situation comes? The foundation is the loving kindness. Out of that foundation, what happening naturally, you start to see that person from a different angle, that situation from a different angle. As a result of that, your action going to come in that very moment and according to that environment to do the right things. That is where the compassion arises. So compassion is not a thought. Loving kindness is a thought. Compassion becomes action. And when the compassion become, when your loving kindness become more stronger, clear, and when the compassion become a stronger, clear, and you're not going to hold anything sometimes. You become action, even sometimes giving up yourself. And it's kind of like the mother and the father have the love regarding children. That is in conventional life, that is the best example. There's nothing we can bring beyond that example. And the Buddha. So then yourself, always remember, just imagine like a mother, father, and they cannot, they cannot schedule their lifestyle according to newly born child. No, they don't know what time child going to cry, what time they need to feed, and what time the child, that want to clean. So like that, they don't know. But any situation in anywhere, if it happen, you ready to do that. You are 24/7 available in action, not by thought, in action. It is different. So like that, for all living beings, how it is possible, just imagine. For all living beings, 24/7, if you can be available in action, just try to catch it by mind. So what will happen to your self-centered idea? Anymore, there is no self-centered idea. When there is no self-centered idea, there is no fear. So like that, see that how the spiritual transformation happen. So then remember yourself. So whatever the fear is there, because there is something lack, that deeply it is the wisdom. But before we go into that, in very conventional life, there is a way we develop the loving kindness. And one should develop the loving kindness. Out of that loving kindness, you develop the compassion. So the compassion means what? The thoughts become action. Once you fulfill these two things, your self-centered idea, egocentric mind disappear. Once it disappears, there is no way fear going to be there. That is where you become part of this Buddha nature. That is where you become a part of the Buddha's path. And that is where you're going to gain the light yourself to travel in this far away to this samsaric journey. Even it doesn't matter, you have to go through the black hole, dark matters. You don't afraid for that. It doesn't matter. You're going to go to the hell. It doesn't matter for you. Why? Because it is you have power to transform the hell to heaven. Why? Because your heart is bigger than the hell. That is where you have to practice. That whoever give hard time to you, bothering to you, make you afraid, fearful, the reason is you in your mind you are smaller than that. But once you become bigger than it, anymore it's not going to happen. So then from today, work on your fear knowingly, with the loving kindness and with the compassion. When you complete that necessary limit within your own practice and in your own heart, with your bodily, verbally, mentally action, you become free from fear. When the person becomes free from fear, when the human mind becomes free from fear, that is the very sign, that is the beginning of liberation, transformation, the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. So with that, I bless upon everyone with this good practice. May all of you be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you. May no difficulties come to you. May no problems come to you. May you also have the patience, courage, understanding and determination to meet and overcome inevitable difficulties in your life. During this time period, may everyone stay healthy and safe. And finally, may all of you attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sabbityu vajjantu sabbarogo vinassatu mate bhavatantarayo sukhi digayuko bhava etavata cha ammehi sampadam punya sampadam sabbe devanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe bhutanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe sattanumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya Idamme punya kammang asavakkaya vahang hotu sabba dukkha pamuncatu. Bless you.